All
So
right, man.
true.
Well, let's get into it, man. JT, man. There's only two JTs I know. You
What? Uh-huh.
and JT, the bigger figure. You know JT, the bigger figure
Yeah, the rapper,
from
yeah.
yeah, man. That's the only two JTs I know. So if someone says JT, those are the only ones I could that come to my mind, man.
What's up, man?
Um,
That's not here.
yeah, man. Well, back to back for you. You know what I mean? ADCC champion.
Yep.
That's I think that's like one of the highest feats in grappling.
Oh yeah.
I believe, man. Like, there's nobody that who are the other back to back champions. How many are there?
Off the top of my head, I don't know how many there are back to back. I know it's only a handful, but it's like
Mm.
guys like Gordon Ryan, Marcelo Garcia. Um, I mean,
Hey,
yeah,
just those two. Just those two. It's just like what? What?
yeah. That's a good point, man. That's a good point. Then of course you have Andre Galvao, who's won the super fights back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's those are the names that come to mind when I think about like back to back champions in ADCC.
Yeah, Andre I actually got to talk with Andre when he came to Korea for one of his seminars for his affiliations out here,
Oh,
Atos
nice.
affiliations, and yeah, I think he's the first jiu-jitsu practitioner I actually interviewed. Usually I interview like mostly the fighters, MMA fighters or kickboxers or something like that, but he was the first. Yeah, very nice guy, man. We got to chat about him imitating Steven Seagal, that video.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious. I remember that video. That video was pretty funny. He even had like little pot belly going. It was funny. It was pretty funny.
Is he that way when when he's around his people? Because it seems like he's mostly calm and respectful, and but it seems like he likes to joke around because that was pretty funny.
He loves to joke around, man. He definitely is someone who likes to get people to laugh. That's for sure. That's for sure. He's
Yeah.
a funny guy, always cracking jokes and making fun of anybody and everybody. So if you're around him, you always gotta be prepared to get made fun of a little bit.
He's a guy, man. He's accomplished so much, especially with ADCC, man. When you look at yourself being only 30 years old and already accomplished so much, do you kind
Yeah,
of you look at him and kind of like he sets the bar, like I gotta like reach that level or surpass that level? Because it's all about breaking someone else's records.
for sure, for sure. I mean, being around someone like Andre for so many years now, he definitely does inspire you to, keep climbing, keep reaching for as much as you can. And to see what he's accomplished is absolutely amazing. And to be around it too. That's the thing. To see it from the outside is one thing, but to be around him, to be there in the same room with him when you're preparing for that big tournament, like how much he puts into it. You see how hard he works for those big tournaments, and not only that, he's also running an academy and coaching other fighters. So it's pretty inspiring and motivating. So when it's my turn to compete, I'm like, man, he really set the bar. I have no excuses. It's gonna take hard work, but he showed me that it's possible and how to do it. So I know what I got to do to make it happen. So it's all about the hard work. But definitely, man, what he's accomplished is probably one of the I think no, it is the greatest
Mhm.
accomplishment within the ADCC organization. And I think it's gonna be very, very hard to break that record, but that's what we're here for, to strive for that, to try to hit those goals, and that's all we can do is just work hard and see how far we can take everything.
When you look at the 77 kg bracket,
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like, man, it's killers. It's just
yeah,
ridiculous who you have to
yeah,
go through, who you went through to get
yeah.
your title. Do you
Yeah.
feel like right now the division or just grappling in general is just so talented? The pool is the level is the highest it has ever been.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt, hands down. It's definitely at the highest level it's ever been. I think nowadays you're getting a whole division full of grapplers who are doing this full time, who are full time um, professional athletes working towards this goal of becoming world champion. And I think especially for the 77 kilogram division, in my opinion, it's the toughest division there is. For the simple reason that I think it's a weight where the competitors still have power but speed too. It's like that hybrid weight class. There's still that speed involved and the power involved and technique too at the same time. So it's like a hybrid weight class that has all those elements involved in it, which makes for a really tough division. Really tough division.
Who do you think are the guys out there that you keep an eye on, that are probably at the same level as yourself? It's like the top, let's say the top 5 at the 77 kg. Can you list some?
Oh, it's gonna have to be the same guys that were probably top 5 of this past ADCC. Guys like Wagner, guys like Gary Tonin, guys like Kinato Canuto, Dante Leon, Lucas Lepre. He's always in the mix too. Those dudes are, I think, some of the top guys in the world right now. And it showed at this past ADCC. It showed why they are the top guys. So those are the guys I always, I keep my eyes on. But, there's always killers popping up everywhere nowadays, all over the world. There's always a new up-and-comer, a new young buck coming up, or an athlete coming over from a different grappling background, like a high-level wrestler coming over, or a high-level judo player, or, an accomplished MMA fighter coming over to do more grappling tournaments. So there's always top-notch competition to keep my eyes on. But, as of right now, I'm definitely keeping an eye on those guys who I would say placed at top 4, 5th this past ADCC. Those are the guys who are consistently killing it on the grappling scene.
The guys you named, they have their specialty, and
Yeah.
and that's one aspect that I like about the grappling is that a lot of the guys have their specialty, but they're good at everything. What I mean, you have to be
Yeah.
to be at that level, but
Yeah.
they have that
Yeah.
little specialty that they have, and it makes it interesting when you go into these matchups where, okay, this
Okay.
guy, he's good in the half guard. You know what I mean? The other guy, he's very good on top. And then you get those guys that fit perfectly, like the guy that's good from the bottom versus the guy that's good from the top. And then when they get into those positions, you're like, okay, that makes it exciting. Don't you think? Like people that don't know about grappling, they need to be educated to kind of when they watch it, right? They're not just looking for submissions. They got to look at those positions.
100%, man. I totally agree. Just like in an MMA fight, you're gonna have, each fighter has what they're really good at. Of course, you have to be well-rounded, but you're gonna have your fighter who's better at striking. You're gonna have your fighter who's better at grappling or wrestling or kickboxing. So it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. There's so many different games in jiu-jitsu that it's hard to keep track of them. There's so many different styles, and that's what makes grappling so interesting, right? It's just it's there's infinite, right? It's infinite positions and different positions you can go into, which makes it so interesting, man. It really is human chess, like they say, right? There's so many different possibilities, different ways you can go about the same thing. But definitely every fighter has their strong suit, and it's interesting to see how they try to apply it when they compete.
And what they bring new to that match or to that tournament that they go into, and that's what's interesting too, is to watch a matchup and then be like, oh, that, oh shit, like that moment, like, oh, he got that sweet. Where did he learn that from? You know what I mean? Like, how did he get that one? You know what I mean? Like, so it's that's so fun. That's why I like watching the grappling. Actually more than the kickboxing, to be honest. Kickboxing is just very straightforward. I think that the grappling is more scientific in many different ways. Now, in grappling, what are the prime years? This is something that I'm very interested in. What are the prime years? Do you think you're in the prime years right now?
I believe so. I think the prime years for a grappler, late 20s until like the mid 30s. I would say 34, 35, 36. 28 to 36, I think, are the prime years for a grappler for, for a few reasons. You're still young enough where your body hasn't taken a beating. Like if you were a boxer or an MMA fighter, it's a little bit different where you're constantly getting punched and kicked. Of course, jiu-jitsu could be hard on the body at times, but not nearly as hard as kickboxing, MMA, even wrestling or judo, So, your body lasts a little bit longer, which allows you more time in the game. And the more time in the game, the more you involve your jiu-jitsu techniques, the higher level you get your techniques too. And that's why you're seeing the highest level guys being around this age. I think there's no secret to it. Of course, you're going to have some young guys here and there that are unbelievable. But I think the prime years are for a grappler from the late 20s to that mid 30 range.
Yeah, it seems like it's a longer period compared to other combat sports. Other combat sports, there's a shorter window where they could just go full blast and be at their best. But grappling, it seems like a little bit longer. Especially, when you got to look at it, is also like injuries, and you can't be injured during your prime years, you know what I mean? Like, that was shortening real quick.
Yeah, it's true. 100%, man.
A milestone that you've, accomplished, outside of just competing is like, you opened your own academy, Essential,
Yep.
and then now you have your first affiliate gym. Talk about that whole process of opening your own place and now actually getting an affiliate. That's huge for somebody that a business owner, especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's when I first started doing jiu-jitsu as a kid, I remember I set 3 goals for myself early on. The 3 goals were obtain my black belt, become a world champion, and open my academy. And I'm proud to say that I've accomplished those 3 goals I set out for myself. And now seeing the goal of the academy growing and growing and going to a new level is just absolutely amazing, man. And the cool thing about it is that I was able to win 2 ADCC world titles back to back while still operating my academy. The first title I won back in 2017 was maybe a few months after I opened the gym. Funny story is I actually received the invitation to compete at ADCC before the gym was even open. I remember I got the email like, hey, we want you to compete in Finland for the world championships. Can you confirm for 77 kilograms? And I remember getting the email and sitting back in the chair and be like, man, I don't know if I can even train properly for this tournament, for the world championships. My gym's not even open yet. I was in the transition period where I just moved from California back to New York. I was like, I don't know, but screw it. Let's do it. We'll see what happens. And I took it, got the gym open. Within a few months, I had ADCC coming up, and I trained the hardest I've ever trained. And on top of that, worked the hardest I ever worked, teaching classes from morning to night. I was also the janitor. I did everything. And then training on top of that, strength conditioning. It was a brutal time of my life, but having the academy gave me more purpose. So I think that empowered me and fueled me even further to train harder and push myself even more for the tournament, because now it was more than just about myself. I was representing myself, but also my academy and my students. Now I wanted to put it on for them and carry the flag and carry the torch and show like, hey, this is what we're about here at Essential. And, and sure enough, I went out there and killed it. Well, won my first ADCC shortly after opening my academy. And for a while, I sat back. I'm like, man, how's that possible? And I just came to that conclusion that having the gym motivated me that much more to work that much harder to obtain that goal. And it happened.
Yeah, well, back to back, man. It's
Back to
the
back.
proof is in the pudding, man. Is right there. No one can deny it. I mean, you did it. You went out there. There's footage. There's evidence. It's historical. Now, being a competitor and being a gym owner at the same time, how does it have an impact when you go out and compete to win? Like, if you win, does it bring in more clientele? I always wondered about that.
It definitely helps. It definitely helps to win and show that you are one of the best in the world and that your jiu-jitsu is top notch and high level. But it definitely takes more than just that to be a good gym owner. Because there's plenty of, world champions out there, high level jiu-jitsu players that I've heard their gyms are not doing so well, or, they've, they're not the best people person or the best
Yeah.
business owner. So it takes more than just that. But without a doubt, it definitely does help to be able to be a champion and show your students that, hey, the jiu-jitsu I'm teaching you guys is high level. But it helps, man. It helps. And one thing that I think also is that it also motivates your students, man. Motivates them. You inspire them. Like when you go out there compete, because I've competed and won and I've lost while I have my academy. And no matter what, you always inspire your students. Always inspire them because they see how much work I put into the competition side. They see when I go out there, I'm going out there and giving it everything I have. So it just motivates them to do that in their everyday life. And whatever it is that they want to lose weight, they want to get the black belt, they want to compete maybe, but it motivates them to work harder, and that just brings joy to me, man. I think that's amazing.
Do you have any young prospects or anybody that comes to your academy and says, "Hey, I'm here for JT. Like I'm here to learn from you, man. I want to be a world champion." Do you have those kids in your academy? Do you have guys that have moved to your
Yeah,
location and learn from you for that purpose?
yeah, and I've had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll explain that in a second. So I have some kids, I have some young guys that told me, "Hey, I want to be world champion." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And they're in my academy grinding right now. I always say, like I've been saying the last year, in about 3 to 5 years, you guys will be hearing about these guys. It takes time to build up and get to that level. Like I've been explaining to them, it's not something that happens overnight, or it happens within a matter of a few months. It takes time. Now I've also had some kids also come over, tell me the same thing, and leave, because I think when they came to me and told me they want to be world champions, I told them, okay, we're going to train like world champions then. And I pushed them. I showed them, hey, this is what we have to do to get to that level that you want to get to. And some of them just quit, and left, which is fine. It's not for everybody. That's why in my academy, I have a good balance. I have a competition program, then I have a white belt program, a kids program, then an advanced class program, which, those other programs besides the competition are for, the person who wants to come in, train, get a good workout, learn jiu-jitsu, lose weight, or maybe occasionally compete as well. But for my competition class, that's a whole different beast there. So when people come over and tell me they want to be world champions, I put them in that one program. Okay, you're going to the competition class. And some people can handle it, some people can't. Some people have stayed. There's some guys I have with me that have been with me the last 2, 3 years now. And there's some people who came in and within 6 months, either they quit, they found a new way of life, a new life path. Some people just quit jiu-jitsu altogether. But yeah, it's not for everybody. But I definitely do have a good handful of kids that you guys will be hearing about in about 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, well, if they've been with you for the last 2, 3 years, they're gonna
Yeah,
be with you for the next 10, I believe.
that's the plan. That's the plan, man. That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you got brewing over there.
Thank
You can't let it out too, fast, but it's something that we'll see eventually. It'll be out on, on the internets, on the
you.
interwebs.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure, man.
you've been to you've been and trained at many, successful academies in the past, being
Yep.
around, like we mentioned earlier, like Andre and
Yep.
other major major I guess figures in the world of jiu-jitsu and successful gym owners. What have you gotten from them that allowed you to become successful
Mm.
in your own academy?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I've trained with some of the best coaches in the world, and I've gotten to see how they run their programs, how they run their business as well. And I think I've taken a little bit of everything that I've seen all across the board from different instructors and added it to a mix that I've created for myself. I've taken things that I like, and I've taken things that I don't like and just pushed them out. and kind of just made a little hybrid style of my own. Um, like for example, Andrew Galvao, when they train, when he trains and he trains the students, they train hard. You know, a lot of drilling, a lot of specific sparring, very professional approach to the training, and that's something that I took and added to my system as well. If you want to be a world champion, if you want to, you know, do X, Y, and Z and reach the highest level, you have to train like a professional athlete. You can't just show up and train whenever you want to train, or train only a few weeks before the tournament. This is a lifestyle, a career. Champions work all around the clock, 24 hours, all year round. So that's one thing I took from Andre Galvao. It's a full-time thing being a jiu-jitsu player, if you want to be a world champion, of course. So, and of course, I've had other coaches in the past that I've learned different training systems, different training regimens, that I've taken some and kind of deleted some and just put it all together and put something together that I like for my students and for myself.
Yeah, it's the evolution of the game. And, you're just part of that evolution of
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
bits and pieces and adding it to what you feel like is the best aspects of, your game or your classes or, whatever, and then add it to, combine that and create what you have right now. And then most likely in the future, you're going to take some things out and you're going to add the other things, you're going to
exactly.
see something, that's what it's about, and that's what I think keeps the students coming back.
I
It's
agree.
that, right? It's that.
I you gotta
Um,
you gotta evolve.
yeah, yeah. Now,
You gotta evolve. We
in
fall
the
behind.
in the world of grappling, there's a lot of guys that you face that have transitioned over to mixed martial arts. And
Yes.
when you see that, and guys being successful, you don't ever get that itch. I asked Andre the same thing too back in the day.
I've always wanted to give MMA a try, and when I say a try, maybe a fight or
Yeah.
two. But I've never had the. I never wanted to make it a career. It never really was for me. I've always enjoyed jiu-jitsu. Like I know a lot of people start jiu-jitsu because they want to fight MMA. I started jiu-jitsu because I did see it in MMA first. I did watch the UFC. I saw jiu-jitsu through the UFC. But once I started jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I like jiu-jitsu to do jiu-jitsu. Um, but yeah, definitely watching guys like Gary Tonin being successful out there, makes me very happy for him. I'm actually always rooting for the jiu-jitsu guys when they fight MMA. But it's never been a career choice for me. I've always been a fan, and I want to remain a fan. But I've always loved jiu-jitsu, and one day I would like to maybe work with MMA fighters for their fights, for the groundwork. Um, that was something that would definitely interest me.
Yeah, you do see a lot of the instructors that have stopped competing or at the tail end of their
Yeah,
competing careers, and them being part of major MMA superstars fight camps, and I think that that's going to be something that's going to continue, and it's going to evolve eventually, and you're going to see a lot more guys, especially guys that can actually coach and train with the fighter. I think that's
yeah,
a huge difference. I think that's a big benefit for the coach and for the fighter.
yeah. I agree, man. I mean, so any MMA fighters watching this at 145, 155, 170, 185, you guys want a good grappling coach? You will be willing to get on the mats with you guys? Hit me up.
Definitely, definitely. Now, another aspect of guys that transition over is there's become a lot of shit talkers. A lot of
Yeah. Oh yeah.
there's the Dylan Dennises out there that there's two sides to that. There's the side where he's drawing the negative attention to himself mostly, but then
Yeah.
he draws a lot of attention to the grappling world at the same time.
It's
What do
true.
what are your thoughts on like what he's doing, and just all the guys that are out there just kind of screaming from the rooftops?
Yeah. I get it. That's what I gotta say. I understand it. I know why they're doing it. And these guys are making money. They're making money doing what they're doing. But it's just not my style. You know, I just can't see myself doing that. Even though some people have suggested, like, yo, JT, man, I mean, you're one of the top grapplers. Like, you're so quiet on social media. You know, you should, go out there, call people out. You know, do this, do that. I'm like, it's just not my style. You know, but I do understand why they do it. And like you said, there's it's which is good for everybody involved in jiu-jitsu. You know, I guess they enjoy that too. They get a little backstory to their grappling matches. You know, just like in MMA. You know, when there's an MMA fight coming up, there's always like a backstory to it. So same thing in jiu-jitsu. So I understand why they're doing it. You know, to promote their matches, promote jiu-jitsu in general. So like I said, I get it, but just was never really for me. Not my style, but I know why they're doing it, and I respect it. I respect their hustle.
Yeah, it does make it somewhat fun. You know, I don't
Yeah,
mind it.
yeah,
I like the guys that go out there and that are respectful, and they are who they are. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. You know,
right,
that's your style. That's what you do. And
right,
then there's the guys that go out there and say, "Hey, I'm gonna say it as much as I can, and if I win, I'm gonna say more. If I lose, I'm gonna shut it up and move on." You know, and just
right.
respect that.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, if you look at MMA, right, and grappling and submission skills, and you say you're a fan, who are the top guys that you watch right now in MMA, like, that are just phenomenal, that you see, like stuff that the regular fan might not see, but they're just great at the grappling aspects?
One of the first names that pops into my mind is Khabib. Especially that I like to think that me and Khabib have a similar grappling style where I like going for the takedown and having real good top control. Seeing him do that and execute it in the cage, along with adding strikes to it, is just beautiful to watch, man. I mean, he is a beast, man. He is a beast, and his grappling is beautiful to watch out there in the cage. Like, his control is like no other. Of course, then another name that pops into mind is Damian Maya. I mean, his like, you just saw him not too long ago, a few weeks ago, choke out Ben Askren. Ben Askren hit that nice takedown, and right off the takedown, hit a beautiful reversal. I mean, just unbelievable grappling skills, and that's another guy I like to watch. And another grappler I would have to say that this is the thing too. You get a lot of jiu-jitsu players that go out there and then they try to become boxers or they try to become kickboxers. I'm like, what are you guys doing? So I do appreciate the grapplers who, of course, you have to incorporate the strikes and all that, but I appreciate the grapplers who go to MMA and still make grappling their main point of their fight style. So even like Gary Tonin, he really uses his grappling when he's out there fighting. So that's something I enjoy to watch when he fights. But yeah, I would say those guys are the guys I like to watch when they fight MMA, because they really bring the grappling aspect into the fight, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Now, for yourself, moving forward, you said you're not stopping anytime soon. I've heard your interviews. What are some of the super fights out there that you want to be involved in? This is your time to, call somebody out, but in a respectful way, right?
Right. One super fight that I would love to do is a rematch with Kron Gracie in a grappling match. Kron Gracie arm locked me in 2013 in the I think it was semifinals of ADCC in Beijing, China, right, in 2013. It was a good match up until the submission. I actually felt like I was in control of the match up until he caught me. I made a mistake. I put my hand on the mat instead of the closed guard, and he took the arm lock. So I think that's a grappling match I would like to run back, and I'm sure the fans will love to see that.
All right, man. JT, man, it's an honor to get you on the show, and hopefully we get a bunch more in the future. Most
Thank you.
likely, maybe before the next ADCC, or maybe even a super fight that's coming
Yeah.
up. Do you have anything scheduled?
Not right now. I told myself I'm going to take the last few bits of 2019 just to, focus on my students, focus on the academy, enjoy the holidays for a little bit. Of course, I'm still training, staying ready. But 2020, I'm looking to come out guns blazing, man.
Are you a guy that just goes all out during the holidays? Or are you getting that turkey and ham and going crazy? Are you doing
No,
it?
no, I don't go crazy. I do have a little bit of turkey, but I'm still training. I'm still staying in shape, keeping it healthy, and staying sharp.